You've probably set up a Zapier workflow before. Email comes in, file gets saved, Slack message gets sent. Simple, predictable, and honestly kind of magical the first time you see it work. But something fundamental is changed in automation this year. The tools aren't just following your instructions anymore. They're starting to figure out the instructions themselves. Today we're comparing the old way of automating with the new way, breaking down what AI agents actually do differently and helping you decide which approach makes sense for your work. Here's the thing that made me actually pay attention to this shift. I ran an experiment last month with a workflow that used to cost me about $12 a month on Zapier. Same workflow, rebuilt with their new AI agent feature, came out to over $300. Same end result, 25 times the cost. That's not a gotcha story. There are good reasons it happened, and there are ways to avoid it. But it illustrates why you need to understand this stuff before you start building. Let's start with what workflow automation has meant for the past decade. It's always been about triggers and actions. Something happens, then do something else. When someone fills out a form on your website, add them to your email list. When a file appears in Google Drive, send it to your team. When a payment comes in, update your spreadsheet. These workflows are deterministic. The same input always produces the same output. You define every single step, and the automation follows those steps exactly as you wrote them. This approach works incredibly well for predictable tasks. If your inputs are consistent and your desired outputs are clear, traditional automation is reliable, cheap, and easy to debug. But here's where things get interesting. What happens when your inputs are predictable? When the task requires judgment? When there's no single right answer? That's the problem AI agents are designed to solve. Instead of following a recipe, they figure out their own recipe based on what you want to accomplish. In January 2026, Zapier officially launched their AI Agents feature out of beta. This isn't a small update. It fundamentally changes what Zapier can do. The key difference, agents can plan their own steps to achieve a goal, unlike standard Zaps that follow a rigid trigger-to-action path you define in advance. You can tell a Zapier agent to organize your inbox and schedule appropriate follow-ups. It will analyze your emails, categorize them, and decide which ones need replies and when. Meanwhile, n8n released version 2.0 in January 2026 with native LangChain support. If you're not familiar, LangChain is the framework that powers a lot of advanced AI applications. This makes n8n more AI native in its architecture. It supports custom vector database integrations and advanced prompt orchestration that most commercial platforms can't match. But here's where the pricing gets really interesting, and this is the part that surprised me. Zapier charges per task. Every action in your workflow counts as one task. When an AI agent loops through multiple steps to accomplish a goal, each of those steps consumes a task. A single agent run might use 10, 20, even 50 tasks. The cost-efficiency gap at volume is massive. A 50-cycle agentic loop consumes 50 tasks on Zapier, but only counts as one single execution on n8n. Let me put real numbers on this. A workflow handling 1,000 requests per month with 50-cycle loops would burn through 50,000 tasks on Zapier. At Zapier's professional tier pricing, that level of usage could cost hundreds to thousands of dollars per month, depending on your plan and any overages. With n8n's self-hosted option, that same workflow costs you whatever your server costs, which might be $20 a month on a modest cloud instance. Now, before you rush to cancel your Zapier subscription, there's an important caveat here. These platforms aren't really competing for the same users. Zapier is designed for non-technical teams. The interface is visual, the setup is guided, and you can build useful workflows without writing any code or managing any infrastructure. n8n requires more technical knowledge. You need to understand API concepts, potentially host your own server, and troubleshoot issues that Zapier would handle automatically for you. This is the classic build versus buy trade-off. Pay more for convenience and support, or invest time and expertise to save money at scale. For small teams running a few hundred tasks per month, Zapier's free tier or lowest paid tier makes perfect sense. The convenience is worth more than the cost savings. But for developer-led teams building robust, reusable automations or orchestrating AI agents across multiple tools, n8n is the stronger option according to platform comparisons. There's also a middle path that's worth mentioning. Make, formerly known as Integromat, sits between Zapier and n8n in both complexity and pricing. Make unveiled their enterprise grid offering in January 2026, targeting larger organizations that want more flexibility than Zapier but aren't ready to self-host n8n. But let's get back to the core question. Do you actually need AI agents? Or are traditional workflows still the better choice for most tasks? Here's my honest take. For about 80% of automation use cases, traditional trigger action workflows are still the right answer. They're cheaper, faster, and more predictable. AI agents shine when your inputs are unpredictable, when the right action depends on context that changes, or when you need the system to make judgment calls. Good use cases for agents, triaging support tickets that need different handling, summarizing meeting notes into action items, or processing documents with inconsistent formats. Bad use cases for agents, moving files to specific folders, sending template notifications, updating databases with incoming data. These tasks don't need judgment. They need speed and reliability. There's a philosophical debate in the automation community about whether autonomous agents should be trusted for important workflows at all. The concern is reasonable. When an agent decides its own steps, you can't always predict what it will do. And if it makes a mistake, you might not catch it until the damage is done. For critical workflows, look for agents that show you their plan before executing rather than fully autonomous agents. This gives you oversight without losing the benefits. If you're already on Zapier, here's what I'd suggest. Try the new AI Agents feature, but start with something low stakes. A workflow where mistakes won't cause real problems. Before building complex agentic workflows, calculate the task consumption. Use Zapier's task history to understand how many actions your current workflows use, then multiply accordingly. If you're technical or have technical support available, evaluate n8n's open source version. The self-hosted option can save significant money at scale. And here's advice that applies to everyone. Start with simple if this then that automations before attempting agentic workflows. Understand the basics first. Walk before you run. Now let's talk about what's coming next. The automation landscape is moving fast, and some emerging players are worth watching. Lindy AI and similar purpose-built agent platforms are taking a different approach, designing specifically for AI-first workflows rather than retrofitting traditional automation tools. These newer platforms often have completely different pricing models, charging per agent or per hour of AI time rather than per task or per execution. The right choice depends heavily on your specific use case, your team's technical skills, and how much unpredictability is involved in the tasks you're trying to automate. My recommendation for most people, keep using traditional workflows for your predictable tasks, but set aside time to experiment with AI agents on a non-critical workflow. You'll learn more from 30 minutes of hands-on experimentation than you will from hours of reading comparison articles, including, admittedly, listening to this podcast. Here's your homework. Identify one workflow you've been doing manually that involves some judgment calls, not pure data entry, but something with decisions. Try automating that. If you found this breakdown helpful, subscribing helps us make more episodes like this. We cover practical AI tools every week. No hype, just honest assessments of what actually works. The automation tools we have today would have seemed like science fiction just 5 years ago, but the fundamentals haven't changed. Good automation solves real problems efficiently. Whether you choose Zapier for its simplicity, n8n for its flexibility, or one of the newer AI-native platforms, the goal is the same: getting computers to handle the boring stuff so you don't have to. That's the current state of automation in 2026. Traditional workflows remain the right choice for most predictable tasks. AI agents are genuinely useful for judgment-heavy work, but watch the costs. Zapier is still easier for non-technical teams. n8n offers significant savings for those who can handle the setup. And the pricing difference at scale isn't small. It can be 5 to 10 times the cost. Start simple, experiment carefully, and let the tools earn your trust before handing them anything important. Until next time, keep automating the right stuff.